Hello everyone and welcome back to APPF1 Tier 2. We're here for round number 5 of Season 14. We're nearly at the halfway stage already. Incredible. Does not feel like that at all. But we are here in Qatar for this round. And the championship, both championships looking rather close, particularly the drivers. The constructors actually still needs a bit of work for it to look as close as the drivers, but the drivers looking very, very close at the moment, and very exciting indeed. I'll quickly take you through the standings. It is 58 points each to Extrek and Denko in the Mercedes. Coming into this round with JB on 47 points, just 11 behind Enchilada on 45 after his win last week, Jackalacco on 44, Robsu 38, Sumo 35 and Tier 34. I think maybe Scott on 26 as well has a chance, but I think those are the main protagonists so far. It's that top 8 that are still in with a decent shout of becoming the champion at this stage in the season, which is a lot better than we were looking at this stage last season when it was extremely clear who the champion was going to be. And that was, at that point, this man, Extrek, in the Mercedes. He's still in the pit lane at the moment, but he is the defending 2-time champion of Tier 2. And he currently leads the standings, but only on countback at the moment from his teammate Denko, who is in chat. Hello, Denko. Good to see you. Good luck to you and to everyone else on the grid today. But yes, Denko, the only one challenging his teammate in the first few rounds in terms of points and consistency across rounds. But since then, it was a very poor week for Mercedes in Las Vegas last week. But we come to Qatar and they will be looking to bounce back. I'm sure they will. This is a much more predictable circuit, I feel. But Scott heading down towards turn 1 for the first lap of the day. He comes down the gears through turn 1 nicely onto the curb, gets on the power as well, and through turn 2 now. Tricky corner actually to get the power down without going wide. Scott takes it a little bit conservatively there, but not too bad. Through turn 3 and now down towards turns 4 and 5. Very tricky corners to get right. You've got to commit so much to them. Without doing that, Scott somehow doesn't invalidate. He lifts off just enough, but that was not ideal for him at all as he goes through turn 6, probably the slowest corner on the whole circuit, that one. And now 7 again, seems to be never ending until you can finally put the power down. And now through the end of the middle sector he goes. That's a little bit wide there. He had to correct that one. He could tell he was going wide. He had to lift off to correct, so that would have cost him some time. But Scott coming through now, the triple right-hander, flat through the first two. Is he flat through the third one? He is. Straight flat through the third one as well. I wonder if everyone will do that today. And Scott even flat through the fourth, through the left-hander afterwards as well. It does change down a gear, but that's impressive from Scott. Impressive commitment from the British driver. He heads through the last corner and to the line. He's out of ERS, but the line comes quickly this year. It didn't last year on this track. A 22.161 for Scott to start off with. Tier, though, he's won at this track before in Tier 2. 6 seasons ago, he took his first ever Tier 2 win here, but he slots in 3.5 tenths behind Scott. Lawrence, a further 1.2 behind Tier. Sumo now goes to pole position, a 22.0. Dad's can game across the line, not setting a lap at the moment. He's out of VRS. He must have invalidated, I imagine. Triku Badayak coming through the final corner as well. The Czech driver's been right up there in quali so far this season, but not so far. 7.5 tenths down at this early stage. JB quite far down. Enchilada beats Sumo by 6,000ths of a second. Incredibly close there between those top two at the moment. We've got another V-carb coming across the line. That's Robsu to start his lap. Drogon's on an out lap at the moment, but he's actually has he backed off? He has backed off. So that's very interesting. Because he must have validated the last corner. That's very unlucky. Cavalis then coming through the final corner himself, the Lithuanian driver. He hasn't finished a race outside the top 10 so far this season. He's been having a great season so far. He's going to be looking to keep that up as he comes across the line. It's a 23.4 and he goes to P7 just ahead of Lawrence. But it is very close out there still. Aces has invalidated. So we'll come back to him. Alex G coming through the final corner. The Ukrainian driver was pretty confident he'd be loitering around at the back today. Well, let's see what he is across the line. He's not that far off. He's only a 10th off Triku, and he slots into P7 for now. A lot of drivers behind him going into the pit lane. Here's Dad's Kangame coming across the line. He's got no ERS left, so it's not going to be in competitive lap because he didn't start the lap with any ERS for some reason. But Aces is still invalidated. Jakalako coming across the line, but he's actually coming into the pits. No lap. The Season 10 champion will have to come out and give it another go. Drogon's also invalidated, so no one actually on a lap right now. Denko's coming to the end of his out lap, though. The joint championship leader from Greece. He comes through the final corner, and towards the line he goes. I believe APP's third driver in our history from Greece. I think DCS Ayrton and Dimos Leventis were the other two, but I may be wrong. But Denko, through turn 1 and 2 he goes. The Mercedes duo have been, well, I was about to say quietly confident. I think it's more they've been loudly confident in the Discord that they're going to be good around here, and I don't doubt it at all. This is a track that tends to favour the best drivers. They can just find the extra mile, the extra few tenths that they need to find. We'll see in the race if anyone can break out the DRS, because that's going to be what it's really about. But Denko coming through in quali at the moment. He's in Sector 2. He's coming to the end of it, a little bit late on the brakes there, but he's gotten around the corner okay. He heads towards the triple right-hander now. Extrac also on an outlap, a few corners behind him, but 58.1 in the middle sector. Is he going to be flat through this one? He certainly is. What about the next one? Flat through here, Denko? No, a bit of a lift from Denko. Not as confident as Scott through that corner, but that's okay. Won't have cost him too much time at all. He comes through the final corner and Denko comes to the line. It looked like a fairly scrappy lap. What about on the timing screens? Yeah, 4.5 tenths down on Enchilada Dad. That's further away than I expected him to be. So I think he's got a lot more in the tank there. Drogon comes to the line and he's going to start another attempt by the looks of things. Extract coming through to start his first run of the session. Maybe saving a set of softs of the Mercedes duo. I'm not sure why they've come out so late, but who knows. Robsu, meanwhile, went to P9 while we weren't watching him. A man who really needs to improve his qualifying pace if he wants to win a Tier 2 title in this game cycle, because that's what really gets him down. His race pace is excellent every single week, but he always has to fight his way through the pack because his qualifying wasn't as good as his race pace suggested it could be. So we'll see what he can do over the rest of this session. We've got Tier starting a lap in his McLaren. He's currently sitting P5 just behind Denko as Extract comes through Sector 1, or well, Sector 2 right now. And I think it was a 51.1 from Denko through the middle sector, as that was Primeval going to P8 in his Williams. That's a decent effort from him as Extract comes down to, okay, maybe it was a 58.1, I think, as Extract comes to the sector line, a 57.5. Okay, this is going to be unbelievable. I think we know who the favourite for this race win is, but I already had a feeling that would be the case. Drogon, a shock name to the top 4. He'll be very happy with that first run. Drogon, maybe back to form today. He comes across the line, though, does Extract, and it's a 21.6. I don't think anyone's getting near him today. I think he's going to destroy this race. Jakalako coming through the middle sector right now in the meantime. The Scottish driver. Through he goes. Tricky corner that at the end of Sector 2. Triple right-hander to come, 57.8. That's not too far off what Extract just did. It was about 3 tenths off, I think. So let's see what he can do in the final sector. Is he flat through this left-hander? No, he lifts off, but stays in 7th gear, so it sort of all works out, really. As he comes to the final corner now, does Jakalako. Round he goes, and to the line. He's got plenty of ERS left to spend, unlike a lot of other drivers through here. It's a 22.1, though. Identical time to Drogon, and he slots into P8. Triku Bidayak is 6/10 up, though, in the middle sector. As he comes through the triple right-hander. Is he flat through the left-hander? Let's find out. A tiny little lift there, but nothing really to write home about as he comes through the final corner. Triku will be very happy with this lap, just about avoids invalidating through the final corner, and to the line. It's going to be a 22.0, a huge improvement for the Czech driver, and he goes into the top 5. Plenty of others on laps as well right now. I believe Sumo on a lap. He's nearly 2/10 up through the middle sector. Has he gained anything more in the final sector? We'll find out as he comes to the line. He's a 1/10.5 away from the champion. But it is still Extrek on pole for now. Scott's gone to P3, by the way, while we weren't paying attention to him, as Enchiladadad slightly improves but stays in P4. And Tyr has bailed on his current attempt. I think quite a while ago. JB's not on a lap at the moment either, so I think things calming down a bit for now before the final run of laps to come shortly. Lawrence into the pits as Cavalis comes round. Is he on a lap? I think he is in the Williams. He is. He's a 10th up in the first sector, but he's going to need a little more than that. He can still beat Robsu as it stands, but he is going to need more than that to get anyone else here. Lawrence has improved. I believe he's gone maybe half a second quicker than his previous run. He's up to P13 now, is the 2-time champion. Still getting used to life on wheel after being on controller for many years. Cavalis, a 1/10.5 up through the middle sector. Again, he might beat Robsu, but he's going to need more than that if he wants anything other than the bottom 4 drivers here. He's coming through. It might even be the bottom 3 because Ace is still yet to set a lap. Cavalis through the final corner he goes. Down the gears into 3rd, in fact, through the final corner. I think maybe he should gear up a bit more, but, you know, he's probably got traction control on as well, which messes with things. But he goes to P14. He does just about manage to pip the Finnish driver, but Robsu is improving quite significantly on his current lap, so we'll stay on board with the Finn. So I don't think anyone else is on a lap other than Denko right now. Alex G actually is coming to the end of his. He's 3.5 up. Can he get himself into the top 10? DRS open for the Ukrainian, and no, he just about misses out and stays P11 for now, but he's a lot closer to the rest of the pack, so he'll be decently happy with that. Here comes Robsu, though, 3/10 up through the middle sector. He comes to the final corner. Can he get himself further up the grid into the top 13? And he should beat Cavalis, but can he get any more than that? To the line he goes. It's a 22.9, and no, he's 200ths off of Lawrence at the moment. And he's going to be pressed for time a little bit to get another lap out, but he should be able to, just about. So Ace is the only driver yet to set a lap on the grid at the moment. Dazken Game hasn't really set a lap. It's not a competitive lap time anyway. But Ace is... He's a driver that desperately needs a good result today. He has been in a woeful run of form at the moment, and he needs something to happen good to him today. He needs get himself on the podium, or at least a top 5, strong top 5 finish to get his confidence back a bit, because he's not having a good time at the moment in Tier 2. And he needs to catch a break, I think, in the form of a good result. Alex G is invalidated, so let's watch Primeval as he comes through. I'm not sure he's on a lap, though. He comes through the final corner. I think we're going to see him peel into the pit lane. No, he's going across the line. Let's see what it is from Primeval. Is it an improvement? It is. It is a big improvement, 4/10, and he gets ahead of Alex G into P11. Denko, meanwhile, has improved. He's gone up to, well, he's stayed in the top 10, or, yeah, no, he's not on a lap, he's on an in-lap right now. So he did improve, but not by too much, and this could be a damage control race for Denko by the looks of things today. If his race pace is similar to that quali pace at the moment. Just right on board with Aces as he comes through Sector 1, not to curse him. But interested to see how he does. Remember, a 57.5 was Extract's time in the middle sector. That's all I remember. So let's see if Aces can get anywhere near that. So 30.5 in the first sector as he comes around the hairpin of turn 6. And now down towards this very tricky turn 7. Down the gears, gets a little bit wide, I think, there of the apex. A little bit of a lock-up from Aces, but it shouldn't have lost him too much time as he comes to the last corner of the sector. Fairly nicely done, but it missed the apex a little bit again. It is he does at least want to get a time on the board at this stage. 58.3, so he's about 8/10 off Extract in that middle sector. But it makes sense. He's just... Actually, he's backed out of this lap. He is fully backed out of this one, and he's going to have to try again. He's not got a lot of time. He might be rock bottom here, Aces, if he's not careful. Triku coming across to start his final run. Just 2 minutes to go in the session. Denko just coming out the pits now. He's going to be very close. He should just about make it by about 20 seconds or so. Maybe 15 seconds. But, yeah, it's cutting it a bit close, especially with cars ahead of him. He's got to be a little bit careful here, does Denko. But I think he'll be the last driver to set a run. No one else is coming out the pit lane right now. Although that Haas coming through, who is that? That is FCRL Drogon, the Italian, coming through the final corner to start what looks like his final attempt. He will have one more go if he bails out of this lap early, but if he uses all his ERS, then he's not going to get another go in this session. But he's still fairly high up at the moment in P8. Extract starting his final run as well, just behind in the Mercedes. He's taking the esports line, the try-hard, on the right-hand side of the circuit on the straight down towards turn 1. But we've got, who's this coming across the line now? That is the Alpine of Scott, just starting a lap, I believe, or did he just finish one? I'm not sure. No, he's starting one. He comes to turn 1, and we'll have to wait and see what he does, but plenty of people coming across the line. Enchilada starting his final run as well in the McLaren. We've got the Ferrari of Sumo Gilligan coming through, but it's Alex G on an outlap behind. Who are all of these? It's Denko who's behind him. That is JB, I believe. So Denko coming around the final corner to start his final run, and now we've got a ride on board with the drivers that are on their final run. So that is Drogon, but no, actually not Drogon. He's backed out. So can he get across the line in time to go again? It's going to be tight, but he's using a lot of ERS, so I doubt he's going to be able to improve using that much. But let's have a look at Extrek as he comes through. He is 2.5 up. This is going to be an unbeatable time here from the champion. He comes around the final corner. Tier has retired in the pit lane. Here comes Extrek. That was a perfect final corner as well. It's a 21.4. Can anyone get anywhere near that? Sumo's improving by 1.5, but he needs a lot more than that. He's looking at a front row start. He comes around the final corner. It's a good run from Sumo, but I don't think it's quite enough. It's not quite. 1.5 away. Scott comes over the line. Oh, he beats Sumo actually onto the front row. What a lap from Scott. It's still not enough for Extract though. Plenty of others coming across. Jack Alaco, no improvement. Lawrence in the other Aston Martin improves but stays 13th. We've got the McLaren of Enchiladad coming across the line. He improves big time but stays P4 as well. Triku is not on a lap time. He's heading back into the pit lane as Alex G is going to be the next across the line. He's 0.3 up. Can he get himself into the top 5 here, perhaps? He's not far off as he comes around the final corner. What's it going to be over the line? He lost a ton of time in the final sector. He stays P11. What about Denko? Stays 10th. It's a subpar quali for Denko as Robsu comes across and beats out Aces and Lawrence. Aces did get a lap in the end, but stays down in 14th place. And Robsu up to 13th. Cavalis stays in 16th in the meantime. Dazkin game improves but stays rooted to the bottom. Oh, that was a surprisingly close quali. I thought Extract was going to run away with that pole position after his first run, but the others got pretty close there. Scott and Sumo very, very close to him, but they couldn't quite get that extra 10th that they needed, and Extract will take his second pole position of the season, with Scott alongside him on the front row. Then it'll be Sumo and Enchiladad on row 2. Triku and Tier row 3, another great quali from Triku Badayak. JB in P7 today, with Drogon down with him in 8th, but actually that's a decent run of things for Drogon today. Jack Alako, identical time, but down to those 10,000ths of seconds, he was slightly slower. Denko in the top 10, but all the way down in 10th actually is probably more apt. Alex, Primeval, Robzu, Aces, Lawrence, Cavalis, and Daz can game the rest of the grid. This is going to be a great race, I think. If Xtrek even gets a sniff of getting out of someone's DRS, he will likely take it. But we shall see. It's all up to Scott, Sumo, and the others behind to stay with the championship leader. But we'll see how this goes. Enchiladad especially will be needing to get a good result here. He doesn't want to let Xtrek get too far ahead. There are rumours on the grapevine that Xtrek will miss the Canadian Grand Prix next week. So that will be an opportunity for others to catch up a bit if he does win today. But that is exactly what Xtrek will hope to do, because he will want to put as big a gap between himself and everyone else as he possibly can. 9,000 track limits incoming, absolutely. This is one of the track limits Grand Prix. This and Canada, the main two, really, that you think of when you think of track limits Grand Prix. So, yeah, track limits could well come into play as well. But it's all going to be about the DRS trains. There will be no formation laps. We'll be straight into it as soon as we get to see the grid. Ah, was it your first Primeval? Ah. Must be good to be back then. But here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5. Red lights. And we're underway for the Qatar Grand Prix. It's a good start off the line from Xtrek, a poor one from Scott, and Sumo's going to draw alongside. It's a terrible start for Scott. He might lose 2 places here down to turn 1, and does. Enchiladad down the inside of Sumo through turn 1. There's going to be the inside for the Ferrari for turn 2, but they're going to let Xtrek get away if they battle too hard, and they both know it. Enchilada goes wide, but Sumo comes back at him around the outside of turn 3 and takes the place back. He's back up into 2nd, but Ench up to P3. Scott down to 4th. Disastrous start for him as we put position changes on the screen. It is +3 for Rob, so it's another great start for him. If he qualified higher again, he would be a lot better off in this race. But Denko down to 11th. We've got Cavalis and Lawrence battling it out further back. Dazcan Game in the background just watching and waiting, as well as the Ferrari of Alex goes spearing off nearly off the track, but he manages to keep it together. And they all stay nose to tail as they go through lap 1. Denko the GOAT will move up soon, says one of his fans in the chat. Well, we shall see. It might be a damage control race for Denko today, given his pace in quali. But it's Xtrek who leads from Sumo, and then Enchiladad in P3. Scott already struggling to stay in DRS as they all file through behind him. 1 second, 1.1 seconds, 1.2, and yeah, no DRS for Scott. He's already lost touch, and it's looking like it's going to be the top 3 versus everyone else. Although Tia is going to try and find his way past Scott, he will likely feel he has more pace, and that is why Scott on the hard tyres in the first stint is now going to be holding everyone up. That's why he had a poor start as well, and that might explain Denko's poor start, but it doesn't explain Ace's great start. He's up to P12 on the hards, so he's done well in these in the first lap there. But the top 3 still locked together, and Scott still holding up Tier, who's going to be desperate for a way through. Breaks very late, nearly into the back of Scott. Does, in fact, tap the Alpine slightly, but they just about get away with it as Robsu's made another place in his V-Carb. Up to 9th place he goes and continues to charge his way up the grid as he always does. But Tier is going to use the DRS to get past Scott, but it's surely going to be too little too late. He's actually may have a go into the triple right-hander, but that would be foolish, and he does back out of that. But yeah, he's already 2.5 seconds back on the top 3. And I don't think there's much Tier's going to be able to do about this. He's just going to have to get Scott and then try and gap him afterwards. But he could well be followed through by Triku as they head through. We'll stay on board with these guys. Actually, we'll go to the top because it looks like Sumo's about to take the lead. He sets the fastest lap and he goes down the inside of the race leader. Sumo takes the lead for the first time, and Tier does take P4. Does Triku follow him through? Around the outside of Scott, he goes into turn 1. They're side by side further back as well. That's Jacko and Robsu, but it's Triku trying to go all the way around the outside. It's going to be inside for turn 2. Can he make it work? He backs out of it. Nearly comes to bear with JB just behind. Robsu and Jacko still side by side down towards turn 4, and it's Jacko on the inside. Robsu's now getting challenged by Drogon, who backs out sensibly as well and has a huge drift around turn 5 there. Wonderful drift from Drogon, but he does lose a place for it. Ace is now up to P10. What a start for him. Denko down to 12th in the meantime. He has to yield to Drogon through there as well, and now he's under pressure from Prime Evil just behind, who's looking to the inside but also backs out of it in the end. This is great clean racings from everyone so far, as Tier trying to gap Scott. He's doing a great job of it. 9/10 is the gap. Scott, I think, perhaps already starting to regret starting on the hards, perhaps, because he is losing so much time in these early stages. Prime Evil gets past Denko, but Denko comes back at him, and actually Prime Evil loses 3 spots there after going wide. It could be 4 as Alex G finds his way through as well. It is 4 positions that he loses. But Extrek back in the lead, by the way. I'm not sure when that happened, but Sumo has the DRS. Just sticking with the race leader for now. Scott just about staying in DRS of Tier, but it's very close. And Tier, if he manages to push on this lap, might be able to get rid of the Alpine once and for all. But I don't think Scott's going to let him go that easily at this stage. He's just about survived the initial onslaught, and now he's got a great chance to stay with the McLaren on these next few laps. JB just behind Triku. Oh, he goes into the back of the Haas. That was nearly disaster for JB and Triku as they went through the hairpin, but they've just about survived. It's comeback time, say Denko's fans in the chat. He is on the hards. He's going to be on the mediums later, so he will be on the better tyre in the second stint, but he's at a big risk of being undercut massively as well. So he's got to just keep his foot in and hope for some luck, I think, in this race. This is definitely damage control for Denko today. He is all the way back in 14th, and Lawrence is actually 1.5 seconds back from the pack ahead. So Denko in the bottom group at the moment in this race, as we see Prime Evil going wide again and again at the next corner. Is not doing well at staying in track limits at the moment, is Prime Evil. But here comes Sumo now with the DRS. Is he going to make a move on the defending champion? He is. He's going to go to the inside of turn 1, going to try and cost Exrex some time, even if he doesn't overtake him. He's not even using any ERS as he goes through, and Exrex retains the lead, but we cut back to the mid-pack because it's JB getting past Jacko for 6th place, and Extrek, Extrek's out! Extrek is out of the Qatar Grand Prix! What on earth has happened there? I completely missed it. But the defending champion and championship leader is out of the race that he qualified on pole. He was looking like he was having a safe ride in the top 3, but suddenly it's all come apart. That Sumo's gotten a drive through for speeding under the safety car. It's all happening. Is there damage to Enchilada Dad's car? Maybe he hit the back of Extrek. There's no damage that I can see, but he might have hit him anyway. I'm not sure. I did not catch it on stream. We'll have to see if Extrek appears in chat and lets us know what happened. But that is huge drama in this race. Goodness gracious me. That is the first, I'm pretty sure the first time Extrek has ever DNF'd from a 50% race in APPF1. And what a bad time for it to happen. Disaster for the champion, and goodness me, this championship is now wide open, especially with Denko having a damage control race. Sumo he's going to have to come in for the hards, but he's going to be dropping right to the back when he takes his drive through. It's another missed opportunity potentially for Sumo. Scott staying out on his hard tyre, so he will lead the race. Drogon also staying out. That's a bizarre decision from the Haas driver. Aces also staying out with Denko, who's now up to 4th place on his hards, and Primeval also staying out in the mediums. I don't understand that decision, but who knows? It could be the right one. I'm not sure. Sumo hit me and killed me, says Extraek. Oh, that's big news. And, well, Sumo's... Obviously, he's got a drive-through, so he's going to drop to the back anyway, but he's going to potentially be slapped with a penalty if what Extraek says is true. Oh, I'm really sorry for you, Extraek. That's so unfortunate. You looked so fast this race as well. That qualifying time was nuts. And I had you all over this race win today in my predictions and how it was looking. So that is desperately disappointing. Oh. I'm very sorry to hear that. Make sure you report it in stewards, mate, if you think Sumo did hit you. But we do have a safety car, and things can calm down a bit. All of the medium runners have pitted for hards. It's kind of a disaster for the guys who started on hards. They are running in the top 4 now, all 3 of them, but they're going to have to go on the mediums later, and they're going to lose a ton of time thanks to the safety car. What they've crucially got to do now is keep everyone else behind for as long as they can and delay them if possible, so they can get onto those mediums and try and chase everyone down at the end. But yeah, they're definitely going to be hoping for another safety car. Scott, Aces, and unfortunately for a lot of people in the chat, Denko not in a good spot here. Red flag, in my opinion. His beginner's luck has run out. Well, he's been having a great season, and from the looks of things, this is not his track. So it was always going to be damage control by the look of his pace, and it's now going to be a little bit more of a damage control than it was already. But massive drama in Tier 2 Season 14 as Extraek takes his first ever DNF from a main 50% race. Actually, I don't even think he crashed out of a sprint in the last 2 seasons either. I don't think he's DNF'd at all. But that is desperately unfortunate. He's not happy in the chat, and unsurprisingly so. But yeah, do make sure you report it, mate, so we can have a look at it. But yeah, it is Scott who leads on lap 7. The safety car should be in this lap. And well, I mean, this blows both championships wide open actually as well. Obviously, the drivers blows wide open with Denko having a poor race as well so far. And the constructors as well, especially 30-point gap or so, I think it was, that Mercedes had to the next best team, which I believe was the V-Carbs, and then McLaren not far behind. But now that is going to close it very dramatically. Mercedes should probably be leading the constructors after this race, but the gap will be vastly diminished, as the safety car is indeed in this lap. So it's going to be Scott who leads us off. Drogon and Primeval are going to be in a pretty vulnerable position here. They're both on mediums. They're both going to have to pit for hards later on, and they're old mediums as well compared to the fresh hards. They're going to drop off fairly rapidly in the next few laps, I would have thought. But here we go, Scott. He's gone by the looks of things just before the final corner. He's caught Drogon napping a little bit. It's a great restart from Scott. Oh, and Drogon, oh, he tried to get the power down on the cold tyres, and he has spun out the final corner. Disastrous for the Italian driver, but it's perfect for Scott. He now leads by over a second from his teammate. Denko pulling to the inside of Primeval. Oh, I think it was the other way around, actually. Primeval trying to get past Denko. It looks like he's going to do it. Denko with a poor exit out of turn one. And Primeval finds his way past. Denko, I think, just wasn't using ERS there and paid the price. Lawrence losing a position there to Dadsken Game. Not sure what happened to the Aston Martin driver, but Drogon, he'll be so disappointed with that, but he should have come into the pits at the safety car. He really, really should have done. But here comes Primeval again on Aces versus Kings this time. He is on the move. It's the Williams driver. He's looking around the outside. Here we go. He pulls to the inside. What a move this would be from Primeval. Incredible overtake from ZTX Primeval. Aces is just going to have to hold his hands up and say congratulations to that one. There's nothing he can do about that. He found the space, did Primeval. It was definitely risky. There's no doubt about that. But goodness me, he pulled it off. What a move from Primeval up to P2. That's definitely overtake of the race wrapped up already, I think, as Denko following along, as is Sumo, but he's got his drive-through. When is he going to serve it? Probably this lap, I would have thought. And he's going to drop all the way to the back. He comes to the final corner. Denko nearly into the back of Aces there, as Sumo does indeed pull in for his drive-through penalty and will drop all the way to the back once more as everyone single file down towards turn one. Scott leads by 1.1 seconds. Then it's Primeval and Aces 1.2 behind, and then he's followed very closely by Denko and pretty much everyone else on the grid, although Jacko 1.1 behind. There's a huge gap between himself and JB at the moment. He's trying desperately to stay within range, but he's going to have to gain a little bit of time through here. This could help him out. Denko down the inside of Aces. Aces leaves him about 3 London buses worth of room on the inside, and Denko is perfectly happy to take it. Enchiladadad pulls to the inside as well of Aces. There's damage to the Alpine. That explains the pace of Aces, and that is such a shame for him. So unfortunate once again for Aces. JB hits the rear tyre of Ench. He tried to go down the inside and take advantage, but I think he was biting off a bit more than he could chew there. He gets a 3-second penalty for his troubles as well, as they all file through. Was that side-by-side for Cavalis and Robsu? I think it was further back, but they've returned to single file now as Aces. Will this man's bad luck ever end in this division this season? It just doesn't seem to be happening. Every race something happens to him. It's so horrible to see. But he comes through the final corner. Is he going to pit for a new front wing? He has to, surely. He's not. He's staying out. He's losing so much time. Well, I think he's just trying to help out Scott here, and he's doing a great job of it. He's using the ERS as well. But here comes Ench to the inside. There's nothing he can do about this. Ench might get 2 in 1 here down to turn 1. Denko's on the outside. Meanwhile, as they head through turn 2, we'll have the inside 4. But Ench does indeed have to back out of that one, but he is up to 4th place and past the stricken Alpine. That is the crucial thing. You got to get past the guy with damage if you want to make any progress up the field, and that's what Ench has done. Although Aces is now going to come under pressure from Jackalacco and the other McLaren of Tier just behind. But with X-Trek out, it's a huge opportunity for everyone else on this grid, and they all know it. So there's going to be extra pressure in everyone's minds as they head through on this Qatar circuit. Primeval staying with Scott, but it's 3 seconds down the road to Denko. So it's a brilliant restart for Scott after this safety car so far, and for Primeval actually. And Denko's doing well to hold up everyone else, but I don't think that's going to last too much longer. Enchiladadad on those fresh hard tyres. He's looking perhaps for a race win today. It could be his second win on the trot this season after winning Vegas last week. He comes through the last couple of corners. It was a 1-2 for McLaren last week as well, propelling themselves straight back into the Constructors after a disastrous start to the season. But Denko now is not going to be able to hold off this McLaren, surely. He's got plenty of ERS, but I don't think he's interested in using it. Ench pulls to the inside, and he's going to make the move. He's up to 3rd place. Not much Denko could do. Well, there probably was. I just don't think he wanted to. He wants to save ERS for more cars behind. knowing that he's going to be able to perhaps hold the DRS to end. Aces nearly goes into the back of him, though, further ahead, as just about avoiding calamity there, the two of them. Robsu on the inside of his teammate, the two V-Carbs, 8 and 9 at the moment, but JB with that track limits penalty. And there are surely going to be plenty more of those today as Jakalako pulls to the inside of Aces. He makes that move now, stick through the hairpin. It's a great overtake from the Season 10 champion. Ace is back at him, but he can't do anything around the outside with wing damage, and he's going to have to back out of that one and yield to the Aston Martin. And Jacko into the top 5 now, with Aces just shipping position after position each lap now. Tier is going to be next up to try and overtake him. He's done well to help out Scott, but now Enchiladadad is closing the gap to Primeval, who himself has lost time to Scott. I think those mediums now starting to wear down. Very wide there at the penultimate corner. That could have been a warning for track limits. That's certainly one for Aces as he gets a penalty of his own. And Daz Ken Game getting one further towards the back as well as he battles with Lawrence for P14. And Lawrence getting past him at the penultimate corner. Very unusual overtaking spot there. But Denko still leading from Jacko, but he's just about fallen out of DRS range of the car ahead, as here comes Tier, the other McLaren, to the inside of Aces, but he can't quite make the move. Aces keeping him behind. It's good defending from the Alpine driver with that front wing damage, and he's starting to get used to having to drive with the damage now, but he will have to pit eventually and surely will repair his wing when he does. Hopefully he set his repair wing damage to option to yes in his MFD, because I can imagine the rage if he comes in and they don't repair his wing. But again, look how much time Tier gains on the exit through the medium speed corners, but he just can't get past at this stage. JB sitting behind watching and waiting as well, but Aces, as long as he's in the DRS range of Jacko, which he still is to his credit, he's still got a decent chance at keeping Tier behind. But Denko has lost 2 seconds to Enchiladadad, who is charging up the track towards Primeval now. That is a penalty to Tier, the first one of the day for him, and they're going to keep coming, those penalties. Keep an eye on the top of your screen for the remainder of this race. Primeval finally in DRS, crucially to Enchiladadad, who will now chase after Scott 2.8 seconds up the road. But Primeval comes in for the hards as we cut to the mid-pack, because here comes Tier again on Aces. He looks to the inside. Jacko gets past Denko up ahead, but Tier breaks early and gets well out of that overtaking opportunity and chooses to stay behind Aces instead. Aces cuts the inside of turn 2 there, as Tier again trying to find a way through, but JB is going to get him instead. He's going to go down the inside. Tier leaves him the space. They go through the double right-hander. There's a bit of contact, and Tier is sent a little bit wide. Could it allow Robsu to get through? No, Tier's back down the inside at the hairpin. It's a great move from Tier. Brilliant defending, but he loses the rear on the exit. JB not quite close enough to capitalize. Nearly goes into the back of him into the next corner, but they just about survive and get away with it. And Tier's lost so much time to Aces now as a result of all of that. 1.2 seconds behind, and if he can't get back with the Alpine, he is going to be vulnerable to the DRS behind now. As Aces, well, he did a fantastic job to keep Tier behind, but at the same time, I do feel Tier unnecessarily backed out of that one. But this is his best opportunity. Oh, he's very, very far on the inside of that corner, completely cutting it. But he has gotten himself back in DRS range, crucially, so he will be able to defend from the V-Carbs and catch back up to that Alpine, as Denko now holding on to Jakalako and has gapped Aces as well, crucially, for his race. Tier, is he close enough? Is he close enough? No. Again, he has to stay behind, and more time lost behind this Alpine. Aces doing a stellar job at the moment, as Drogon also coming in for his first stop of the race. As meanwhile, Scott leads by 0.6, but he is also yet to pit. So when he comes in for those medium tyres, he will drop all the way to the back, and he's going to have to fight his way back up the grid if he wants to get the result that he will feel he deserves from this race. But yeah, the strategy just not paying dividends for him today. Same for Denko and Aces. They're going to be right to the back when they pit. How has the race been? Dramatic. dramatic, Zeke. It's been interesting and also dramatic. As you'll see, Extraek is out of the race, allegedly due to contact with Sumo early on, and then Sumo proceeded to get himself a drive-through under the safety car that followed. So he's at the back now. Denko, Aces, and Scott are in bad positions, I'm afraid to say, as they are still all yet to pit. They will be on the mediums for the second stint. They will be fresh mediums, so they should be very fast, but are they going to be fast enough to make meaningful progress? That's the question. Here comes Tyr. He finally gets this move done on Aces versus Kings, and JB, excuse me, follows him through down towards turn 1 as well. Robsu just behind the Alpine as well, as Drogon gets himself a penalty further back. Trying to catch back up to the rest of the pack. Robsu right behind Aces. He pulls to the inside. He's going for a move. Robsu is famed for his outrageous overtakes in Tier 2, or at least he used to be. Don't see so many of them anymore. But he was looking for one there. He eventually yielded, though, and he's going to go back to the inside. Risky for someone with front wing damage to put your car there. But they've gotten away with it. We do need a safety car. That is exactly what we need if you happen to be a Denko fan in the chat. You would love a safety car right about now. But at the moment, everything very clean. Green flags all the way, as Scott now only 1.3 seconds ahead of Enchiladadad, who's looking like he's going to take his second win on the bounce in Tier 2 this season. Sumo Gilligan, meanwhile, gets past Lawrence as he tries to charge his way back through the grid as well, but he's got 10 seconds to make up to his teammate, and that is going to be quite the struggle. He is going to gain 3 places from Denko and Scott and Aces further ahead, who are yet to pit, and Aces losing more positions here. JB getting past Tyr up ahead, but Aces could lose 3 and 1. Cavalis looks to the outside, he backs out, but Triku sweeps his way around, and the Haas driver gets himself into 8th place. Cavalis looking to continue his run of top 10 finishes this season, yet to finish out the top 10 so far in season 14. And if he can keep that up, I think he'd be very pleased. Are you Team Denko, Ghost? I am Team Neutral. But it is nice to have someone have so many fans in the chat, as Aces goes extremely deep into the hairpin, and Cavalis tries to find the inside but has to yield for the next corner because it would have been the outside line. We've got the Haas of Drogon, who's binned it in Sector 1. That's such a shame for him. He was having a great race up until he decided not to pit under the safety car for some reason. But it is Aces still ahead of Cavalis for now, as Robsu just about struggling to hold on to Tyr. Meanwhile, Primeval with a penalty of his own for track limits, as Robsu 9/10 behind Tyr. They come through the last couple of corners, and he's just about stayed in DRS range. Crucial for the Finnish driver. Scott finally into the pit lane. Where is he going to exit? That's the question. Denko staying with Jacko for now. He stays out. What about Aces? He also stays out, but he loses the place to Cavalis by the looks of things. Down the inside goes the Lithuanian, as Scott is going to just exit the pits now on those fresh mediums. He is going to be right with Sumo, I think. Here comes Sumo. Look on the right hand side of your screen. Where is the Alpine? Oh, there it is. Where is it? Just coming out the pit lane in the background there, and he's actually well behind Lawrence even, Scott is. So it's a long pit lane here in Qatar, and Scott all the way down now. He's got to work extremely hard to catch up, even on those fresh medium tyres. It's going to be quite the slog for him to get even back into the top 10. I think he will be able to do that, but further than that is going to be a stretch. Meanwhile now, as a result of that, Enchiladadad now leads the Qatar Grand Prix in Tier 2 by 4.5 seconds. It's Jakalaka in P2 though. He's going to be delighted with how this race has gone. Denko in the top 3, but still yet to pit. Let's have a quick look at positions gained. Yeah, Jacko up 7 positions. Robsu up 7 as well. Cavalis up 8. So great races for all the 3 of them. But Denko looking good at the moment, but he is going to have to pit at some point. Will it be this lap? I imagine so, unless he wants to eke it out for the softs. No, he does come in, so Denko will drop all the way down, presumably to 14th or so, I think, when he comes out. Who else? Is Aces in? Yes, he is as well. So that is everyone now has had their one stop that they need to take, as JB gets past here for P3 now, and this is the battle for third place. But Robsu doesn't have a penalty, and he's looking like he's in prime position to take a podium from this race. I believe it would be his second podium of the season, maybe his third. I might have misremembered that, but he ended last season very strongly. He finished second place in the championship, and he's looking to do one better this season, but it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a very, very interesting season, this one, as Triku Badayak in the mix as well. And this is a driver, Triku, who has yet to really pay dividends on his quali pace. He's been very, very quick in quali the last few weeks, but it hasn't paid off as Lawrence. Oh, that's so disappointing for the two-time champion. He was having a great race until then, but oh, he nearly bins it again. Getting out the gravel, but just about stays on track, pointing in the right direction. But yeah, that's going to be a pit stop for him, unfortunately. But yeah, like I was saying, as Denko makes a move past Dadsken Game further back, 4 seconds to his next target. Scott gets a penalty as well. That's not going to help his case. He's into the top 10 now, but yeah, he's going to have to fight very, very hard to get any better than that, as Robsu gets overtaken by JB and Tier down towards, JB gets overtaken by Robsu and Tier through down towards turn 1. But yeah, like I was saying, as Scott sets the fastest lap, that's ominous. Triku Badayak is going to really want to get a result today. His best result in APP is a 4th place that he got last season in his debut season. But he'll be really hoping to get that podium. He's never been on the podium in APPF1 before. Today could be the day if he can stay on track with these three, but he is struggling. He doesn't quite have the pace of the 3 cars ahead of him. And but even so, if he can manage to pull a 5th place or even a 6th place out of this, I think he'd be very happy. And so would Cavalis with his best result of the season as it stands, a P7 it would be. So a lot of drivers doing well here. And having good drives that they have deserved over the course of this season, and that's going to work out for Triku. Robsu with a time penalty. Let's put penalties on the screen. It's 6 seconds to Tier and 3 to Robsu and JB. Also 3 to Scott, 6 to Primeval, and then a few others further down the grids. Ace is on 6 as well, and his fresh mediums, and Lawrence on 3. But Tier setting the fastest lap, meanwhile, as he chases after Jack Alako. He's now within DRS range, and the man who won at this track 6 seasons ago is back again to try and get himself on the podium. Last time we raced at Qatar, it didn't quite go so well for Tier, so he's hoping to change that today, as Scott retakes that fastest lap straight away, and Denko takes it immediately afterwards, so he's not quite out of this race just yet. But it is still an uphill battle for the Mercedes driver as he tries to just salvage what he can from this Grand Prix. And again, the fastest lap is taken, this time by Aces versus Kings further back, down in 14th there. Remember, it's points for the top 15 in APPF1, so as it stands, Lawrence would actually miss out on points in this race, which would be a shame for him. But it is 20 points for a win, 16 for second, 14 for third, 12 for fourth, and then 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, all the way down to 1 for 15th. But meanwhile, it is these 4 drivers locked together in this battle for 3rd place. Jack Alako, battle for 2nd place technically, but Jacko, the only one without a penalty. If he can keep it that way, he is in prime position to get 2nd place here. Enchilada is gone up the road. No one else anywhere near him right now. He is very happy with how this race has gone. Both his main rivals. We saw in the beginning of this race, it was Enchilada, X-Trek, and Sumo who immediately gapped the rest of the grid, and it was looking like it was going to be a 3-horse race. Then X-Trek and Sumo had contact. Sumo got himself a drive-through, and only Enchilada was left, and he has been left alone to lead this race. It looks like he is cantering to his 2nd win of the season. And I think he would take the championship lead as it stands as well. It would certainly be close. I don't know about the constructors, but McLaren looking very, very good right now, as are the V-Carbs. They're both challengers, both the main Mercedes challengers, having good races so far. But those time penalties could change everything, and I'm sure there'll be more to come. There's one for Sumo, who's down in P9, and he's going to be chased down by Scott, who is already nearly 1.5 seconds behind him, actually underneath that, as Aces gets past Dazkin Game further back for 13th. But Scott, those fresh mediums, a lot faster than I thought they would be. As Tier leads this train for P2. He got past Jacko on the previous lap, and Jacko just about staying with him in the DRS. Down towards turn 1. Extrek in the chat being incredibly defeatist and saying that he's never going to win the championship now, and making the prediction that Denko is going to win, which will please everyone in the chat. But I think if it ends like this, Enchilada will be the championship leader after this race. As Denko gets ahead of Prime Evil for P11. Prime Evil tries to get back at him on the inside, but there's nothing he can do on his hard tyres. Those fresh mediums just too strong. And Scott now right behind Sumo for 9th place, who himself is right behind his teammate. That was a 10-second gap, by the way, that Sumo has just scythed straight through, and he's now right behind his teammate for 8th place. We have 5 races left after this one, for whoever asked in the chat. There are 10 races in a season. This is round 5. So we will be at the halfway stage after this race. Jackalacko still in DRS range of Tier, but actually struggling. This could be good for Tier if he can get out of DRS. I think he has done. I think he's done exactly that. Sumo getting past his teammate further back. But meanwhile, does Jacko have DRS? Watch that rear wing. Does it open? No, it doesn't. Jacko has lost DRS to Tier, and he's going to be vulnerable to Robsu potentially on the run to turn 1, but I don't think Robsu's particularly interested in battling for this one at this stage. No, he stays behind, and Jacko now back within 6/10 of Tier after using a bunch of ERS, but the McLaren driver looking very strong. Could McLaren get their second 1-2 of the season? We've already had 2 1-2s this season, one from the Mercs, one from the McLarens last week. Could they get another one in the very next week as Scott clears Alex as well? Sumo his next target. Jacko finally gets himself a penalty, and now it is fair game between these 4. They all have a penalty, and Triku Bidayak is just 2 seconds behind without a penalty. He is potentially on for a podium here, but he has been shipping time over these last few laps thanks to not having that DRS. He needs these 4 to start battling hard to get himself in with a chance of that top 5 or even a podium in this one. Cavalis looks comfortable in P7, but actually not particularly comfortable. Scott's only 5 seconds down the road, and we've seen how fast he is so far. We've got 6 laps to go at the end of this one. And Scott will surely be clearing Sumo on the run to turn 1 on this next lap. Let's keep with the mid-pack, though. Enchilada's gap is coming down. Tier is catching up. He's got incredible race pace around here, does Tier, but Enchilada had it at the beginning, and Tier has sort of grown into the race as Robsu hits the back of Jacko. A little bit of a tap. That could have gone badly wrong, but they've managed to stay with each other, as Scott does indeed clear the Ferrari and gets up into 8th position. He's now 5 seconds behind Cavalis with 6 laps to go. He should be able to close that down comfortably, but can he get the extra 3 seconds he needs to secure 7th place? I think Triku is a step too far, but he can certainly get himself P7 here, and he will have been enjoying this fight back through the grid, I think, as Lawrence bins it again. Unfortunately, same corner as well, and he has now been lapped. And Lawrence, I won't hold it against you if you go in for an early retirement here, mate. Now you've been lapped and you've lost your front wing again. I wouldn't hold it against you, especially since you're 16th and out the points. So if you're listening, Lawrence, you can retire. if you like, go in the pit lane and retire. I won't hold it against you. I understand. But meanwhile, it is Scott who's trying to get rid of Sumo here. 7.5 tenths is the gap. Can Sumo stay with him? 7 tenths as they come around the next couple corners. It looks like Sumo's done just enough. In fact, more than enough, as he comes around penultimate corner, much better than the Alpine ahead, and he is back in DRS range. And remember, Scott's tyres aren't going to last forever. They are going to drop off, I think, in these last few laps. But will they drop off enough for Sumo to get back past? That is the question. Will they drop off before he can clear Cavalis? That's the other question. Cavalis in a bit of a race of his own here, but like I said, Scott is charging him down. Meanwhile, Tier still leads this little DRS train for second place as they all file through, and they still have to be careful of this Haas. The man from Czechia, as Scott gets himself another penalty, that is definitely game over for P7. It could be game over for P9 as well, as Sumo's right behind him still. Alex, I think he will be able to gap, but I think Scott is going to be consigned to 9th place in this race after a possible 7th that he was looking at. But they do have to look at this Haas. Triku Bidyack is still only 2 seconds behind. Even without the DRS, he's doing an absolutely stellar job in this Grand Prix. And he could well still be in with a shout for podium here. His maiden APP podium it would be. But we're heading into the last 4 laps of this thrilling, drama-filled Qatar Grand Prix. It's been great racing throughout as Jack Halako takes P2 from Tier. Robsu tries to follow him through and does so, but backs out before going down the inside of the Aston Martin into turn 1. And with 4 laps to go, it's Jacko who leads the pack again, but Robsu is now in the coveted 2nd place in that train. That's where you want to be around this circuit. It's 2nd place, because you will have the DRS on the final lap. But Denko, meanwhile, gets himself to P10, and he's into the top 10 again and could be looking at a possible 8th place. Sumo's 2.5 seconds up the road. That could be a step too far, but I'm not sure. He's been showing great pace so far in this last stint, and his tyres are 1 lap younger than Scott's. So he's got a decent shout here, at least P9. P8 might be a step too far, but who knows? He's just gained a couple of tenths through that corner. As Triku now 1.5 seconds behind. He is catching them. They all have DRS and he's catching them. This is incredible stuff from Triku Bidyack. This is the race of his APP career so far. I don't want to curse him too much, but he's now within 1.2. He's nearly in DRS and he's looking at a maiden podium if he can hold this together. 3 laps to go in this race, and the podium is still anyone's game as Robsu goes around the outside of Jacko. Tier makes it 3 wide going down to turn 1, but Jacko yields, and Tier's on the inside now for Robsu down through that corner. It's turn 2 though for Robsu on the inside, and he should keep that position, but he's now at the head of the train, but he loses the rear. Tier loses it just behind him as well. Jacko tries to make his way through. This is all helping Triku as well, just behind. Jacko sends it around the outside, but he has to back out. JB in the mix as well. There's contact. Goodness me, how are they still all on the road? I have no idea how they haven't ended up in the wall there, but they've just about survived. And now Triku Bidyack is in the DRS train. Incredible stuff from the Haas driver, as Robsu looks to try and gap Tier now for 2nd place. I mean, it will be 3rd place after penalties if it ends like this. Triku's just got to hold this together, and he will be on for an incredible result. But it's Robsu still at the head, Tier, then JB, then Jacko. Somehow Tier and Jacko still facing in the right direction in this race. Not quite sure how. I'm going to leave penalties on the screen now until the end of this one. Tier with 6 seconds, so he will drop to the back regardless. And he's looking at a 6th place finish in this race as it stands. Just 2 laps to go. It is still anyone's game though. Robsu, JB and Jacko with 3 seconds worth of penalties each, and Triku just behind on nothing at all. Tier sweeps around the outside of Robsu perhaps, but backs out. Has to stay behind. Enchilada 6 seconds up the road. He is looking to cruise to victory as Scott finally clears Cavalis, but surely he's not going to get 6 seconds on the Williams in 2 laps unless he really pulls something out the bag here. Sumo's just behind as well. He'll be looking to get rid of the Williams by 3 seconds himself. Denko's too far behind now, I think. He is looking like a 10th place finish for him. But we've got a Triku fan in the chat as well, which is fantastic to see, because he might be getting his first ever APP podium if he can hold this together. It is still Robsu at the head of the train. They're still single file as they head through lap 28 of 29. Do we still have the sound? Yes, we do. It was very quiet for a second there. But Robsu, he's going to be a sitting duck on the run to turn one. We've got places exchanging further back, but it's all about these front drivers. What a race this has been. It's been fantastic to watch. So much drama as well, unfortunately for the likes of Extraec. But it's going to be Robsu who leads the train. Enchilada takes us on to the last lap of this thrilling Qatar Grand Prix. Robsu around the final corner. He could lose several positions here down to turn one. Tier pulls to the inside. He makes the move, but Robsu's out of ERS. Here comes his teammate JB to the inside. Robsu defends to the outside. Jacko tries to find a way through. Triku's just sitting behind them, waiting and watching. He doesn't want to make any kinds of moves. He's keeping this very safe indeed. Sumo gets past Cavalis further behind, but Cavalis just has to stay with him, and he'll have a 7th place, which I think he'll be very happy with. It is Tier who leads the train though, from Robsu, from JB and Jacko, and Trigu just in the background as they head through for the 29th time into the middle sector. Can Robsu do anything here to try and get rid of Triku Bidayak? Can Tier do anything? He is flying up the road at the moment. He's over a second ahead of Robsu. Someone's binned it. That's Lawrence further back. Once again, unfortunately for the Aston Martin driver. But here we go then, into the last sector of the final lap. It's now Tier who's gapped the train, but those 6 seconds of penalties are going to be so costly. Robsu and JB, the two V-Carbs, looking at a brilliant result of their own. Jack Alako in the background as well. He's still in this championship, don't forget. He goes wide there, but it's not enough to get himself another penalty. Tier comes round. Enchilada wins the Qatar Grand Prix. Tier's going to come round second place on the road, but it's going to be Robsu who gets second place, but then it's going to be third because Triku Bidayak gets his first ever APPF1 podium finish. What a drive from the Czech driver who has been qualifying so well this season and finally gets his rewards in the race. What a drive from Triku. That closing down of the DRS train in that final stint was something to behold. Incredible drive. As it's Robsu who gets the last spot on the podium. JB just misses out with Jack Alako being beaten in a drag race to the line by half a tenth. Tier drops to 6th place thanks to his penalties. He'll be gutted with that. Cavalis will be happy with 7th. Sumo down in 8th after his drive through. He will be thinking what could have been in this race. How far behind the leader was he? In the end, 21 seconds. And if he'd stayed in the DRS of Ench, I'm sure he would have been there for the win, but it didn't quite work out. Scott finishes just behind him in 9th position after his 6 seconds of penalties, and then in 10th place it was Denko, who manages to secure 6 points from this race. Definitely a damage control race. He was not on the pace today, but he does at least salvage some points from it. He still might be leading the championship. I'm not sure. I'll have to run the numbers and get back to you. But we will have interviews with the top 3. It'll be our first ever interview with Triku, as long as he has a mic. So looking forward to that. But stick around for those interviews. And I've just got word. Triku Bidayak has had 0 track limits warnings from that race. Not just 0 penalties, 0 warnings. Not one warning for the whole race. Very much deserved podium. But it's Enchilada who wins the race from Triku Bidayak in P2. What a drive from him. He's definitely driver of the day today, Triku. Robsu in P3. He's a contender as well, up 10 places from quali, but he always does that. JB up to P4. Jacko in the top 5. Tier dropping to 6th after his penalties. Then it's Cavalis. What a drive from him as well. Sumo, Scott, and Denko in the top 10. Alex, Aces, Primeval, Drogon, and Dads can game the last of the points finishers. finishes, with Lawrence unfortunately a lap down, not getting any points, and Extrek not finishing the race. Wow, what a race that was. We can get a standings update. Let's have a look. So, Extrek on 58. Enchilada Dad will be on 65 points after this one. I don't know who got fastest lap. I think it was Scott. So, Enchilada will be on 65 points. Denko should be on 64 points. So, he's going to be 1 point behind. JB will be on 59 points. Extrek will be on 58. Jacko 55 points. Robsu will be on 52 points. 13 points. In fact, exactly 13 points in it. Between all of the top 6 drivers in the championship at the halfway stage. What a season we're in for here. We are going to have interviews with the top 3 very shortly. And the constructors will have closed down an awful lot from this race as well. But anyways, let's get into the party and get some interviews going. We do have Robsu, just waiting for Inch and Triku. So we have Ench. I'll give Triku another minute, but if not, we'll start without him. Ah, he doesn't have a mic. That's a shame. Well, we'll get the interview started with our race winner, Enchilada Dad, his second win on the bounce. And after this race, you will be the championship leader as well by just a single point. What a drive, Ench, but it certainly all went your way in terms of your 2 main rivals in the first stint.
Yeah, I don't think that could have gone any more perfectly at the expense of everyone else, but I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a stellar drive. Like I said, it looked like it was going to be you, Extrek, and Sumo pulling away from the rest of the field, but then, of course, it all went wrong for Extrek and Sumo, one after the other. Did you see what happened with the crash, or were you?
Yeah, but like very quickly. So.
Ah, right.
It did look like Extrek moved quickly, but I think he probably had time to react. But it's impossible to say from. I need to see it back.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I don't think it's too much consequence to you. I think you'll be very happy in the end. Were there any moments when you were driving around on your own in the last stint? Were there any points where you nearly lost it, or was it smooth sailing? Did you
like
feel
once, kind of, one time almost, but not like very big. Just kind of lost it though, but. I don't even think I lost that much time from it. I spent most of the second stint just looking at the gaps and penalties behind, seeing if they would change.
Were you just interested in the battle?
Yeah, and if someone else could get 6 seconds, so Tier wouldn't lose 712 places.
Yeah, indeed. It's still, though, a great result for the team. That'll definitely close the constructors up a fair bit. I think Tier was P6, so he'll be...
Yeah.
How many points is that going to be? It's going to be 12, 11, 10. 10 points. You'll get 20, so that's 30 points, which Mercedes got 6, so the constructors is going to be...
Rico probably got a lot too, though.
Yeah, you'll only be 13 points behind. And VCARB will be even closer, I think. So it's going to looking like a fantastic championship. There's 13 points between the top 6 drivers by my calculations, and then the top 3 teams very close as well. As obviously a not ideal start to the season, but does it feel like everything's back on track now with 2 wins in a row? You can't ask for much better.
It does, yeah, but it's still a long way to go. Maybe if Extra can do that one more time, I'll feel better.
Well, absolutely. Only at the halfway stage. Plenty of time to go for things to happen in this championship. But well done on the win, Enchilada. Another win under your belt. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Right. I'm going to try and move on to Triku. Triku, I don't know if you can hear me. Could you try saying something? I can hear you as well. I wonder if you can... I don't know what it's going to look like on mobile, but there should be like 3 dots or like a settings menu within the party or a more button, and then there's voice chat settings. And then put share... Sorry, if you... Yeah, I can hear you. It's just that maybe the stream can't hear you. I'm not sure. Hang on, let me check on my own here. All right, try saying something. Yeah, the stream is saying they can't hear you. So if you go into your party settings and then your voice chat settings and you put share your voice setting onto allow, if you can find that. Have you got that? Okay, so the stream should be able to hear you now. I think so. Okay. Well, congratulations, a maiden APP podium. It's been a long time coming, especially with your qualifying performances over the last few weeks. But the races just didn't turn out your way. But today, what a drive. How do you feel? Yeah, I think I saw you said in the Discord that you had not a single track limits warning the whole race. That's incredible, mate. That is phenomenal. Well done for that, and I mean that deserves a podium in itself. But what a drive you had! I think the most impressive thing about your drive today for me was the way you were dropping back to the DRS train for quite a while, and then just it got to 2 seconds and then stopped, and then you slowly started reeling them back in, which no one expected. Talk us through that little part of the race where you were sort of falling away from the DRS train and then closed back in again. Were you, when you saw that gap increasing, were you thinking, well, you know, P6 is all right, I guess, and then sort of started coming back to you, or were you really pushing to try and catch them again? Yeah, as you should be. I mean, many congratulations. First ever podium in the league, and it's been fantastic watching your journey in the league up to this point. And may the win come soon. I'm sure it will at some point. So congratulations, and I hope to speak to you on the podium again at some point this season. Absolutely, you never know. Keep it up, and the opportunity just might come. So, congratulations again, Triku, and yeah, hope to speak to you again at some point this season. No problem. And driver of the day to Triku as well from today. I think he deserves it. But I'll move swiftly on to Robsu in P3. Another podium, Robsu. Congratulations. But goodness me, you had to fight hard for that one, didn't you?
Me happy, yes. But holy hell, did I have to fight that? Oh my goodness, yeah, yeah.
Why use many word when few word do trick?
Indeed.
Oh, I mean, what a drive it was! What a race it was! It was fantastic to watch from the commentary box, and I'm sure it was equally fun to be a part of. That I think what we're all thinking is that train between the four of you and the five of you later on at the end. For a while, you were the only one in that train without a penalty, and then finally it came. Talk us through what happened. What was the last warning you got?
It was yeah, it was just a bit of a kind of a mislip. I just lift off throttle a bit too much, and I went just couple of inches wide, and that was the final nail in the coffin, maybe. But I mean, of course, it felt good to have no penalties. But then again, once that did came, I was still very confident in my pace, like I was all the way up to that moment, because well, I think I just it didn't even matter to me, because the pace was very good today, and I was really confident with the car and tires also.
Yeah, you looked it. I mean, The race pace was phenomenal. Yet another fantastic start as well, making up 3 or 4 places in the first lap. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, Robsu. Qualifying.
Oh yeah.
There's been a few races, I mean, this season and last season, where if you qualified higher, you probably would have done even better than you did. And it feels like you're giving yourself more work to do than you need to. You get the job done most of the time, but it's making your life a bit harder. So do you know? Have you got any idea what the issue is in qualifying, or is it just still a bit of a mystery to you at the moment?
I think it's still a mystery to me. I mean, I practiced for this race and the last one. I did some time trials, but I mean, I don't know. I just cannot get one good lap together. I don't know. I really don't understand. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any answer to that. So.
That's fair enough. I was in your shoes as well for quite a while on this game, and pretty much all of the last game cycle I was rubbish at qualifying. So yeah, I understand, and I hope you can fix the issues soon, because if you start qualifying even sort of top 8 regularly, then you're going to be on the podiums regularly as well. But at the moment you just give yourself so much work to do. So I think it's worked out today. It worked out. It's worked out for the last couple of weeks. But I hope you can sort it out and get further up the grid. But yeah, sometimes it's just something you've just got to deal with, right?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I mean, I've been trying all kinds of things, but it just doesn't click.
Yeah. Oh, well, I hope you can sort it out. But on the, all that aside, another fantastic podium today, another brilliant performance in the race, and a well-deserved 14 points, and that brings you well into the championship fight. And also the V-Carbs, you and JB, right into the constructors as well, with a Mercedes disaster today. So things definitely looking very nice. Like I said to Ench, 13 points between the top 6 in the drivers. It's the halfway point. Is it still, the championship still in the back of your mind at the moment, or is it starting to creep in that you might actually have a shot again this season?
I mean, well, I don't want to get my hopes up, but I mean, if it stays like this, then you know, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. I mean, but right now I'm just going with the flow and the race by race.
Absolutely, that's all you can do after all. So, congratulations again on another podium, and best of luck for the second half of the season.
Thank you, man.
All right, I will be signing off now. Thank you all ever so much for watching. I hope you've all enjoyed in the chat. That was a great race from my perspective. I hope you enjoyed it too. Next week, we will be heading for round 6 to another Track Limits Grand Prix, Canada, Montreal. So do not miss it. We may have some people hitting the wall of champions. We may have some people binning it elsewhere. There's plenty of places to bin it in Canada. So stay tuned. We'll be back next week for another fantastic race, I'm sure, in the streets of Canada. But for now, thank you all ever so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I've been Ghost, and I'll see you next week for more APPF1 Tier 2. Goodbye.